Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Random Crafty Acts. My name is Barb. This is a continuing video in a series that I'm doing that I think I titled it Making Cards for Donations, Filling an Operation Gratitude box. And as a volunteer for Operation Gratitude, I do two things. One, I make greeting cards, and the other thing I do is I crochet scarves. And crocheting scarves is a wonderful activity, but it's not quite as mesmerizing as what I can do with card making. So, being a card maker and working with paper crafting is something I started doing 5 years ago when I retired. And Operation Gratitude is my primary source for donation. So I am in the process of filling a box. I have 124, and the box I'm filling typically holds 200. So that's where we're headed. This is what we're working with in this particular series here on YouTube. And this was a die cut set. There were 50 designs, 2 of each, 100 pieces. I have to tell you, I don't really know why I bought this. It was very much an impulse purchase, but it was on sale. So, that's the primary reason that we buy most of what we buy when we're paper crafting. And the first thing I noticed after I got this and I spread everything out was how disconnected all of these things were. I mean, books and mushrooms and what appeared to be dishes and sewing things and plants and deer and wildlife. I mean, and they weren't even really connected by color necessarily, though most of these tones are kind of muted and not like bright, vibrant colors like some of the things I work with. So I just took it as a challenge to, first of all, to use this because I am trying to use all of my stuff now instead of just continuing to accumulate. And like a lot of crafters right now, I'm on what's referred to as a no-buy, which means I don't buy anything new. I'm using some of the I've got so much color card stock. I've got an immense amount of pattern paper. I have tools that I can use to make anything that I'm missing. So I'm really trying to be frugal because there are some other thing I want to buy at some point. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside, and in a previous video, I've basically shown you pretty much all of the cards that I've made from this set. And so here's what we're down to. I've got these, they're the little bits. Okay, these are tiny little things. And I'm holding this up so I can make sure you can see it on the image. Okay, it's small. And I'm going to show you the kind of places that those end up. I think this is a 2x3 card. And it's not unusual for them to end up in a spot like this, and this to be one of the focal points on a card. Okay, so I've got the little mushrooms in the hourglass. I've got the mushrooms in the hourglass setting on books, which I don't really understand. This looks like something that, like, it would set so that it's like hanging from something. Stamps, which are always interesting. I mean, and they make a nice little piece of embellishment. I'm going to explain those in a minute. These were some of the ones that I've really struggled with finding a place for, and unless some kind of major thing comes to mind, these will get set aside. I have come up with an idea for these that may or may not end up in the Operation Gratitude box. But see, notice I have 2 of them. They're chipboard. They're not chipboard heavy, but the cardstock I usually work with is about 110-pound index, to be different from 110-pound cover. But and this is much thicker than either of those, but still not so thick that it's a problem on the card. Okay, these other are little bits from the work I did this morning. So We're going to scooch all of this up here since that's all that's left. And we're going to turn our attention to this card, okay? And in the common, I need to check to make sure I'm in frame. All right. Okay, this is an A2 card, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The card stock I've used here, the card base, you know, you take your 8 1/2 by 11, you cut it here at 5 1/2, and then you get 2 cards. And that's one of the primary reasons that I make my cards this size. If I were to make 5 by 7s, which I know a lot of people do, and they're nice, but I can only get one card out of a piece of 8 1/2 by 11 card stock. So for the card base. And this is usually 110 pound. This looks kind of like parchment, and that's going to be prevalent in what you see in the next couple of videos. It's made by Astro Bright, I believe. I think I may have even gotten this at Walmart, though I order all my stuff online. And I don't even remember what the weight on it is, but it's not quite 110 pound, but it's heavy enough to act as a card base. Okay, and then there are a couple of pieces that come into play here. The black layer on the outside is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And its purpose for being there is to just kind of give a border and add something that looks kind of like texture, and it's just a little crooked down here that I didn't see that. Okay, the piece that goes underneath it is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, I don't remember exactly what size this is. We're going to cut that with a die. Then this is just a piece of pattern paper that is in behind that. So it's just big enough to fit in under the frame. And then this was the piece that came with the set. And then this is the sentiment. Okay, so it makes I feel like kind of a classy looking card. All right, so we're going to make that. And then the exciting thing is that working with, and let me make sure I don't get too many things. I don't want to get my things mixed up here. Working with, when I cut this out, this frame piece, I ended up with this square. And so I then did the same thing, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. This is a piece of textured cardstock at 4 by 5 1/4. This is that center square. This is a piece of the pattern paper that was left over. And notice, because the pattern paper here is directional, meaning if you turned it like sideways or whatever, it would look kind of wrong. So I was able to turn this sideways, and then I was able to take one of those little bits, put it in the corner, and decorate, embellish the front of the card. And I used one of my little sentiments that I made on my silhouette. Okay, so basically, even though I used some additional cardstock here, I got 2 cards from this same design. And this is an example of finding a way to use your scraps. All right, there are ways to do templates that I normally use so that I don't have scraps left over, but this particular project has left me with lots and lots and lots of scraps that I'm going to have to find something to do with, which I will. Okay, so we're going to make both of those cards. All right, so let's just get started. All right, here's our base. We're going to set that aside. I need my guillotine. Let me set those up there. Okay, so this is going to be, this is the back. So this is 4 1/8. 4 1/8. The thing I love most about this guillotine is that it has all of the eighths and everything in actual numbers, because I am terrible. I was prior to retiring, I was a professor at a college, and I taught English. because I'm great with words and poor with numbers and have never been any good with anything that resembles math. Okay, so this then is going to go in the background, and we're going to do something with that. Remember, we're going to cut the frame out of that. And then this piece we want to be 4 by 5 1/4. You'll hear me kind of looking to the left. That's because I've got a chart hanging up that has these numbers on it. One of the things I've realized as I've gotten a little older is that the best thing you can do for your memory is to write it down. And no shame in writing it down and putting it someplace so that you can look at it. Okay. All right, and I just keep like piling these bits up. Okay, so that's almost the only thing I need to cut. I'm gonna set this aside and we're gonna do the die cut piece first. Okay, in keeping with what we did the other day, knowing that this is gonna go on top of here, okay, we're gonna cut this frame out of this. Let me check how this is. I moved everything around on my desk. There we go. So I'm a little unfamiliar with what you're seeing, and there's some things I'd like you to see. All right. It's not like you need to be like seriously exact with where this is placed, but you do need to make sure that you've got the full border all the way around. So we're gonna lay that on there. And I do like it better when it's straight, but if it, like I said, if it comes out crooked, since we're covering it up, it really doesn't matter. So this is my Big Shot fold away. I don't know if you can even buy the fold away, but it's been one of the most wonderful things, and I like doing die cutting. Okay. All right, you go, oh wow, where's the frame? Well, the frame is stuck in there. So there is a tool you can buy to do this with, but I just use a straight pin. So you poke it through that hole and then ease this out. Now, notice how, I don't know if you can see it, but how this is kind of coming apart. All right, that's because of the way this die is made. And there are sometimes with these, you would need to spray the paper ahead of time before you do this, before you die cut it, or before you emboss it. Okay, because it breaks down the fibers. All right, so we're going to put this on top of this, and notice we don't need a whole lot of glue, right? We just need enough glue here around this edge. And I don't know if you can hear the noise, but all of these, this was in some kind of a paper pack that, again, I bought in a moment of wild abandon. And so you've got texture there, and you need to take that into consideration as you are gluing, okay, so that you get enough glue for it to work down into the holes. Okay, now this is going to go on top, but we want that piece of, we want this to go in underneath. I hope my moving things around isn't too confusing. Underneath here. Okay. And to measure this, I'm just going to set this over this way because I want that to go here. And I'm trying to like save a little bit of that so that I can do that other thing with this. Okay, so we need to cut it somewhere around here. did I mark that? I did mark it, didn't I? Okay, yeah, there it is. Down in under that leaf. Okay, it's going to be a little smaller than the last one we did, and I don't know that I have any more of that paper. Okay, and so we're going to put just a thin line here to get this inside. And remember, we want it to be right side up, but we've got some space to do that with. Okay. We've got a really thin okay, and then we want to center this as best we can. Again, we've got that texture, and notice, see how that split? I don't know if you saw that, but it's really kind of cut down through that. Okay. All right, and then how did I do this? Okay, I tucked this kind of in the corner and spread it so that it looks like it's hanging. If I was doing this for something other than Operation Gratitude, I would probably take my paper punch and punch that hole and put a little piece of string in there so that the tag hung loose. But I made the decision that I wanted it to be solid there. And then I had this problem with, not a problem, just need to make sure the ends are down. And I just do that because I don't want the decoration on the outside of the card to get caught in something and get torn up. Okay, and I'm using Have a Happy Day as my sentiment here. Okay. And then one of the things I mentioned in a previous video is when you have cut the back out, if you feel like the distance is causing what you put it, when you put it down, to be make it look like part of it is caved in, you can put just a piece of like any kind of scrap paper in underneath here that's the same as that, and it would make it level. Okay. All right, now let's see what we have with this. I think that works. And then this is 4 by 5 1/4. Put this on top of the 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Again, this paper here has some texture to it. So I want to make sure I get plenty of glue on there. That is my air conditioner running in the background in my she shed because it is June. I'm in a part of Illinois that is under the heat dome that we're talking about at this time of year, or for this particular, and the temperature outside supposedly feels like 105. We are known in this part of the state for our humidity. So the humidity is rapidly getting to the point where you feel like you could step outside with a bar of soap and just take a shower out in the air. Okay, so put that. Okay, so we've created our focal point for our embellishment. I'm gonna stick a hello up here, and look at that. We use the scrap. Then we're gonna put this being out with the air conditioning running upsets my glue bottle. I use Bearly Arts glue because it dries clear, and I've just kind of gotten used to using it. It dries clear, and it gives me just a hot minute too when I am trying to put something down. Okay. And then we're going to do this one, landscape instead of portrait. I notice that this looks just a little bit off. So I'm going to use my phone folder to get my nice crisp line. Wow, look at that. That really came out well. Okay, so that's 4 cards. Okay, we'll lay those to the side. Let's see if I can remember what I thought I was going to do with this. Oh, I was going to do the same thing with this. Again, I'm going to use the black to create a frame and put these in the center. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and do some of the cutting. Okay, I jumped ahead to get some things done, but I ran into a problem, so I wanted to show you what I do when this happens. Okay, if you notice when I was die cutting, this didn't cut all the way through. Now, you have 2 options. You can just pull it and hope it works. You can take something metally and rub and hope that works. Okay, and it didn't. Okay, so then you can take a craft knife and very carefully stay inside the line to cut that loose. Okay. Just wanted you to see one of the things that can go wrong, and then we'll be putting that here, be putting this in the middle. And we're probably not going to put a sentiment on this one. Okay, and so I'm just going to set these up here because they won't take very long to do, because then that leaves us with these. And we don't have any patterned paper that we can put these on, so the idea then is to kind of do some brainstorming and think about what we might want to do to make another card. Okay, so one of the things we could do is use these books and put the books here without anything else on them and find some paper to go behind it. We could do this, okay, or since I have this from a previous, we could put that here. All right, so I just wanted to show you what kinds of things we start getting into when we're looking at this. Okay, so if I try like putting this here and putting the sentiment over there, everything kind of runs together. Okay, these, that color doesn't match. That would work if I used like a bigger sentiment, maybe. That's not too bad. So I would need to go through my stack over there and find something to put on the background so that we can kind of start to work to that. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to set these aside for the moment, and I will probably pause the video maybe, and we'll do that. Okay, so I'm just going to let you watch me glue one of these together. You notice that there's a slight difference in the two different colors. Maybe you did, maybe you did not. Yeah. That lined up well. Okay. Okay, in this one, we don't have anything in the background. We're just going to do it like this because of the colors that are in the stamp. And the background here helps pull out the colors that are in the stamp that are going in the center. Okay. All right. And I don't know that you necessarily need to watch. We'll do one more, and then that will probably be it for this video. I will pause it long enough to see if I've got something in my scraps over there that will make make the center of that other one look the way I'd like it to. I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you have any questions, you can always leave a comment. I do check for those. If you are part of Operation Gratitude and you're in the Facebook group, you can also leave questions over in the Facebook group. The other reason I use Bearly Arts glue is because it does dry clear, which helps. And there's another brand out there, I can't remember right off the bat, that works, I hear works really, really well. But if I remember right, it can only be mailed at certain times of the year because it reacts to the temperature, and if it freezes, for example, it loses its viscosity. Is that the right word? Viscosity? These are 1 7/8 and by 2 5/8. It looks like I measured those at one point when I was trying to figure out how I was going to do these. Okay. With the 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, black is one of my favorite colors to put in there. I find that it just really has the tendency to make all the other colors pop. Okay. All right. So you can see there's a little difference based on the number of this sheet that I had. Okay, so we've got 6 cards in just a very short period of time. So we will get these 6 ready to go. I have my envelopes. I have my stamp that I put on the back. My Random Acts of Kindness Studio stamp that my granddaughter got for me. She designed this and ordered it on Etsy. Okay, and then I put the card inside the envelope in this way so that the incredible people who unpack our donations that we send and sort them in the way they need to be sorted and check them in the way they need to be checked to make sure that they accomplish the goal. And then 2 more. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would do so. All you have to do is there's a subscribe button you'll see on the screen. You just click on that. You won't get emails. You won't get texts. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help push the video out there if someone is looking for basic card making or anything to do with Operation Gratitude. And I have a link for Operation Gratitude in the description area of all of my videos. So that would help out. Also, if you would click the thumbs up, that we're all playing with the algorithm over here. So these are 6. Going to add 6, so that's 130 cards now in the box. Okay. It's really great. All right, I'm going to show you this, and then I will probably drop this in on the other. When this started, there was what I kept calling the funny little pink. The deer in pink, which I couldn't figure out what to do with, and I decided I had put this card together with the peachish kind of color behind this plaid, and realized that it was really kind of close to matching up with this. So these were 2 pieces that I was having trouble figuring out what to do with. So we've got those in the stack back here, and we'll add those in. One other thing I wanted to show you, and I will show this in a subsequent video too. I've talked before about how some paper is white core, okay, that it's dyed on the outside, and that's what happened with this. I had some ink there, something that got on it, and what I usually use, this reminds me, they're called ink sand erasers, and reminds me of the old, for back in the day when we used typewriter erasers, and that's kind of the consistency of this. So I just thought that, you know, this would take that off. Well, it did, but if you notice, it also took off the ink. So now there's this white splotch there, and I can flip it and find something else to do with it. But that was kind of frustrating, but that is something to keep in mind. There is nothing wrong with white core paper. It tends to be a little less expensive. It works. I know some people who use embossing, and they purposely buy white core paper so that after they've embossed, they can rub across the top, and the design from the embossing will come up through the die, because they rub the stuff off, that's whatever that is on the outside. Okay, all right, well, thank you for being with me, and there will be probably another video, because I've got several cards over here that I prepped this morning, and we will do those shortly. Thank you for being here, and again, subscribe if you can.